All right. A warm welcome to everyone. We're super excited to have you all here today on our first of a three-part series of these Power Up Your Business webinars, where we're going to be tackling some of the biggest pain points and the biggest ways you can help propel your business by talking about these different topics. And the one today I'm really excited about because I feel like this is one of the biggest double-edged swords of being a business owner. Hiring, right? On the one end, it can be your best friend. If you get the right person in the right seat, it can be a complete game changer to really propel your business forward, completely change your operations, and just make everything run smoothly and help give you the freedom of why you started your business. But on the other end, not hiring when you really need to and not finding the right person, or arguably even worse, getting the wrong person in a seat can be one of the most painful parts of owning a business. And so I'm super excited about my friends that are here with us today. Collectively, these people have literally hired hundreds of employees, reviewed thousands of resumes, hundreds of hours probably in interviews, and just tons of time in and not only hiring but also working on retaining top talent. They're also all serial entrepreneurs, so they don't just have experience in one business with this, but in several different businesses. And so vast knowledge, and just super appreciative to all of you for being willing to dedicate your time to be here with us today. If you briefly could just all introduce yourselves and tell us how, I guess, your background in hiring and your experience in hiring. Yeah, go ahead, Brandon. Let's start with
Want
you.
me to go first? Sure.
Yeah.
Hey, everyone. My name is Brandon. I've been a serial entrepreneur since the day I turned 18. Went out and got my first business license on my 18th birthday. And it took me many, many years before I finally hired my first employee. When I did, it was terrifying. I did a terrible job. I made every mistake you could make. I once said the wrong thing to my team members, and over half of my employees quit because of the thing that I said. And I've even said employees suck and I quit while curled up on the couch in the fetal position crying like a baby. So does that make me an expert in hiring? Maybe it does. But I've definitely learned a lot. And over the years, I've hired over 1,000 employees in between my different businesses. Currently, I have about 212 employees between all of my companies. And we have open hiring pipelines right now where we have anywhere between 300 to 500 employees in our hiring pipeline. So we've learned a lot. And one of the biggest things that I hope to kind of share on this call is the number one biggest epiphany that I've had related to hiring. So excited to be here.
Awesome. Well, super excited you're here. Thank you, Brandon. JC and Angela, do you guys want to introduce yourselves?
Sure. I'm Angela Schroeder. I have been a serial entrepreneur for over 25 years, which ages me every time I say that. And have the stories just like Brandon when you say being in the fetal position, saying employees suck. I'm sure I've been there many times too and made the same decisions as, in my young 20s of hiring and leading and working with people, and have certainly learned through the years in businesses. And now in our virtual assistant businesses, we're constantly bringing on talent, just the importance of getting the right people in the right seat and doing that from the beginning. I loved your graphic there of like, hire me and I'll make all your dreams come true. But just the importance of really finding those people, top people, and not cramming people into seats because you're desperate as well. I've been, reading and studying a book of like desperate leaders do desperate things. And I'd say that's one of the biggest things I've learned over the journey is a lot of times we hire when we're desperate to fill a position instead of learning and using great hiring tools. Like we're so excited to be using HireBest in our hiring process with virtual assistants right now to really find the right people and have them work in their strengths and their unique genius. Your turn.
All right. Well, I don't have 25 years of experience per se. Maybe when I was slinging candy in school, we'll count that as my beginning of my entrepreneurial experience. But, I started my company back in 2009. I was young, I was arrogant, I was stubborn, I was all those things that you are when you first start a business. I didn't know better. I was all I needed in my company, so I thought. And it really wasn't until 2019, and Brandon, you're like the catalyst for this. Once I realized I needed to hire in order to grow my business, I joined Conquer 2019. I stopped making all those silly mistakes over and over and over. I was always looking for the perfect candidate, and you're not going to find the perfect candidate on paper. And that was like a big distractor or a big limiting factor for trying to find people to get them through that door, to sit them down in the interview. And over the years, that whole process evolved. Like Angela said, using HireBus now has absolutely been incredible to streamline that. I mean, how many times have we put out job ads, and then we did the phone interviews, and then we scheduled the in-person interviews, and guess who shows up? Nobody. All that time wasted, all that energy wasted. But these are part of the steps that you need to take to be successful, to get the right team. And then I'm so grateful for the team that I have now, to be a part of that and grow with me. And I'm able to pass on that hiring myself to my team through what I've learned and what they've experienced within our company on what they want to look for somebody to work alongside them. So I'm happy to be here. I love to share my experiences, both the good and the bad, and hopefully save many of you many painful mistakes.
Love it. Thank you so much, both of you, and appreciate you being here. Nicole.
Hi, everyone. I'm Nicole with Jill's office. I'm the Director of People and Culture. And my background is a little bit all over the place. I actually started out in HR and got my first taste of hiring and how important culture is in hospital administration. So I started in HR at a hospital back in 2006, maybe. And staffing needs for nurses and things like that is just insane. And so that's kind of where I got my first taste. But I did start my entrepreneurship journey in 2010 and just kind of forget all the things that you should know about hiring and just go through all of those pains of trying to find people and not utilizing them in the best way possible. But I've been at Jill's office for a little over 8 years now. And after learning everything that I've been through, I'm just really passionate about helping people to find the right positions and creating a culture that people actually enjoy. I feel like that's where I can contribute the most, is that these employees come here and spend so much of their time at work. I want to make sure to also give them a fulfilling environment and give them a purpose. And so, so we've been going strong. We have about 130 employees now, and we're always hiring, especially in the summer. And it is a call center. So the challenge is keeping a really fun culture and engagement in a call center environment.
Love it. Well, thank you to all of you. I appreciate y'all being here. And just for the benefit of all our viewers, if you don't know specifically about each of their companies, they're all in a company right now that is one of the primary focuses of that company is hiring. So I'll give a brief commercial, and sorry if I botched this for any of you guys. But Brandon with HireBus is a phenomenal tool to basically really help you get the right person in the right seat. And it's a simple 1-question survey that you can have your applicants fill out to assess their level of experience, or I guess they're not their experience, it's their
Behavioral
skill set of where they would fit, of where they fit best in your company. And so I know we utilize that at our business, and it's been a game changer, and several other people as well. And then I think you do a lot as far as automating and helping with their actual hiring funnel and process too, right? Awesome. So very awesome tool. And then JC and Angela, you have a virtual assistant business where you help get that vital back office support that every company desperately needs. And so have a lot of experience in that's what you guys do all day, is find the best people and then match them with the right company. So absolutely love that. And then at Jill's office, we're a virtual receptionist. So Nicole is just screening, or her team, I should say, is screening candidates all day long to find the best people to help answer your phones. So lots of hiring and lots of experience in hiring all across the board. So we already have a lot of questions from those who have registered that we hope to be able to get to as many as possible today. And anyone who's watching either on the StreamYard or on Facebook or YouTube, wherever you're watching live, if you have questions as we go through this, please post them and we will try to get to as many as we can. But to start with, I'm going to ask my question. And Brandon kind of already started diving into this, but just to kind of keep it real, I mean, literally you guys are all experts, but part of being an expert is also, picking yourself up when you fall. So do you guys have any kind of hiring horror story that you'd be willing to share? You don't have to give all the dirty details, but just briefly what happened and what did you learn from it?
Just one. You just got to pick one.
You just got to pick one today.
I'll tell you one of the most painful ones. So if you were to look at my hire bus assessment, you'd see that I score low in criticality, which means I have a low desire to be critical of people and things and situations. And that bites me in the butt sometimes with hiring because I think everyone's awesome. And I kind of have rose-colored glasses. And I want to believe the best in everyone that I talk to. And I'm always going back to my wife. I'm like, this person's going to be amazing. And then she interviews them and she's like, no, they're not going to be amazing. So I always have to have a second interviewee. But anyways, one area that really hurt was I had an employee that worked for me for a long time and really over time just kind of became cancerous. And during that time period, at the time when I did eventually let go of them, they came back with an attempted lawsuit. And it was one of the most painful things that's ever happened to me in my life. There was some collusion that was kind of involved, and there was a lot of things that kind of happened behind the scenes. And I remember sitting across from my attorney. My attorney said, Brandon, you can win, but you're going to have to pay us $160,000 in legal fees to win. Or you could lose on one single point, and then you'd have to pay us 160 and them 160K. So your only option to minimize how much you pay is literally just to settle and just not admit guilt, but just settle out of court. And it was one of the most painful things that happened for me personally on a personal level. And it taught me the value of employee handbooks. It taught me the value of following good HR principles and protocols and taking emotion out of it and dotting your I's and crossing your T's and having documented performance reviews and just so much on the documentation side of things, which I could literally talk on for a long period of time. But that kind of ties in. Every bad story that I have comes with a learning lesson that, although it stung, has made me, a better entrepreneur, a better business owner, and has forced me to implement a system to prevent that from happening ever again. So, no matter what your terrible situation is, try to look at the positive side of it that can allow you to fix it and prevent it from happening again.
I love that. Brutal though. I'm so sorry that happened to you. But it sounds like you have a good attorney that tried to be straight up about your options, but, yeah, we'll be able to dive more into, all the details of what you need to actually be doing with your processes and your HR to protect yourself. That's a very important topic. Does anybody else have one they want to share before we dive in more?
I have something.
Sure, I'll share one.
Oh, go, Angela.
So mine is similar to Brandon's as he began in that, and I think it's similar to a lot of entrepreneurs. We love people. So somebody comes to an interview and I'm just like, oh my gosh, you're awesome. I want to be your best friend. You're amazing. So I hire you to be in that role. And the first time that was a disaster is when I had the opportunity. I was running a golf course right out of high school. And of course I hired all of my friends. And that didn't necessarily work out so well. And you would have thought I would have learned that lesson, but kept doing it in every business. In the dance studio, I was always hiring people that I liked and keeping them for too long because I thought that I could save them. And so just like Brandon said, it is about putting tools in place on the front end. I keep saying this about HireBest, but I remember when I talked to Dan, I was like, this is a tool I absolutely have to save myself from myself. On the hiring part, that there is data, there's science, and same thing when they're in it, performance reviews, there has to be somebody else in charge. So having a strong integrator in my business that has those skill sets to run the process and is just like, no, this is what the data says. Your emotion and opinion does not matter.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's hard because you know, I mean, I think we're all very emotional creatures, and it is important. That's part, I think it's something we'll get into later too, of just developing a good culture and having that connection with your employees, but you also really have to protect yourself. So it's having that fine balance between them. So, and I appreciate you sharing that and being vulnerable there too, Angela. What about you, Nicole?
I think I have a lot of crazy stories from Jill's office, but the thing that made a huge impact on me as I've kind of developed in this career was when I had my very first business. I did everything by myself, and I think a lot of our viewers might actually be in situations like that. But then I decided to hire, and strictly for the purposes of having some time to leave or do doctor's appointments for the kids and things like that. However, whoever I hired, I didn't utilize them to their fullest capacity of what I could have delegated to them. I didn't delegate anything except I had a retail shop. So I delegated cash register basically and straighten up things. I could have done a million things differently that would have had a totally different outcome. But that's kind of where I learned my very first lessons about why you need to delegate, why you have to hire, and why you have to hire the right people, and just, for the right seats and things like that. And so that was probably the most horrific thing I've been through, because that business closed down. All because of myself. And so I learned a lot from it though. And so I have been able over time to take emotion out of hiring, because I feel like if you put the wrong people in the wrong seats, you're not doing them any service at all. You're putting them in the wrong seat, and now they're suffering because of your poor judgment call, basically.
I love that. I mean, you all hit on some very important things. I mean, Brandon, when you were talking too about just having a cancerous employee and how that can have a ripple effect on your other employees, that's really important. And then Nicole, you saying too how if you have a person in the wrong seat, then it's not only hurts your business, but really hurts them, because they're not where they're going to best be able to perform and succeed in their own career development. So really good points there. Okay, so love to hear all your other horror stories. If you want to drop them in the comments, it's always good to learn from those. But let's jump into some of our questions from that have come in for this webinar. One of them is that I've always heard it said that we should always be hiring, but what does that mean exactly, and what does that look like in my business? Does anyone want to tackle that one?
I'll dive into that one. So there's a difference between reactive and proactive. Reactive looks like my best guy just quit and turned in 2 weeks notice, so now I have 2 weeks to find a replacement. That's the opposite end of the spectrum of always be hiring. Always be hiring is you have a set budget set aside every single month, where your jobs are always live, no matter what. You're always interviewing. And that's kind of like the key part. Some people, I think they don't understand the hiring part. You're always interviewing. You're always talking to people. You're always having that. And then let's say you find someone that's absolutely amazing and you're full. You have the option to be able to say, hey, JC, I think you'd be an amazing fit to my team. We're anticipating an opening up here really soon. Are you okay if I reach out to you as soon as that opening happens? JC's probably going to say yes. Most do. And then you put them on a waiting list. So now when that 2 weeks happens, that notification, you have a list of people to be able to call, and you can swap people in very quick. Or alternatively, what can happen is I meet JC and I'm like, JC's way better than Dan. So, what I might do is I might swap out JC for Dan, because Dan's at the bottom of the totem pole, and maybe I want to swap them out. So guys, you can fire people. I give you permission. You don't have to wait for your people to quit. You have the ability to fire people and bring in someone else and let that person go pursue another dream opportunity that they could get, because they're probably not happy in your company if they're a poor performer, and they know it and you know it. So go let them get a better fit and bring someone else in to come in. So to me, that's what always hiring means, is always be interviewing. Never turn your funnels off. Never turn your interviewing off. It always pains me when I see someone say, all right, I got my one guy hired. Let's shut everything down. And then literally 1 month later, they're like, turn everything on, set it to max. And I'm like, we got to stop. We got to just get this even keel and always be hiring.
I think I just want to add to that too. And while you're doing that interview process, don't say, hey, we're just interviewing, I don't need you right now, maybe later. Like, get them excited about it. Tell them that you don't have that spot available. Get them part of that culture so they feel it, they want it. Now they're going to be like an advocate for you. Hey, go apply to Cape Fear Pro Wash, Patriot Unique, Hire Bus, great place. The company culture was amazing. Maybe they find another job in limbo while they're waiting, and then that opportunity does open up, and you reach back out to them. Hey, Brandon, that opportunity we had for you a little while ago, it became available. Oh, JC, you know what? I'm at this job right now, but I really don't feel it. It doesn't have the same culture, and I really wanted to work with you. So now they're still excited for being with you instead of just saying like, just go and we'll let you know when we're available. Right. So it's so important that during that process, you stay excited with them.
Are you kidding these? They're so good.
Memes are everything when it comes to hiring, right?
I love it.
I love those thoughts. I'm shooting myself in the foot because there's this certain person that I had wanted to bring onto our company for a long time, but just they seemed happy in their position, and I didn't want to be like stealing them. And then about a month ago, I found out that they had quit and gone to another company, and at that point they were happy in their new company. But I was like, why didn't I say something earlier, or just, put an idea out or something? And so I think it's that mindset of just always be in that mindset of always being hiring, always looking for talent. And even if it's not the right time, starting a conversation for when it could be the right time, both for them or for you, to get them into your company. It's just a really good mindset to be in.
And even if you're out and about and you're at a restaurant or you see somebody selling something, hey, I have a great opportunity for you. I'd love for you to come in and interview for this job. They might say no, but at least give them the card so that when they are ready, they can give you a call. But if you don't know if you don't ask.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Love that. Okay, awesome. So another question was, where do I find great people? What kind of tips do you guys have for that? I mean, JC, you just said everywhere, right? At a restaurant, anywhere you're looking. But do you guys have any other tips on how to find good people?
Yeah, it's a marketing problem to solve first and foremost. And there's not just one place to find great people, just like you don't only find customers on Google. These are your internal customers. So, your customer list that you have, send an email blast out to them. Let them know you're hiring. We've gotten good referrals from some of our customers, like my niece, my nephew, my, uncle. We would love to apply. And then just think about as many channels as you possibly can. Post on your own wall, post on Instagram, Facebook, Indeed. There's a whole bunch of job boards that are out there. Reach out to your local community circles. Headhunting, like JC mentioned, is one of our most effective ways. We're at the gas station, anywhere. We have these little cards that we have made up that say, "You're awesome. Let's talk." And on the backside, it says, we offer killer pay that recognizes talent, great benefits, and an awesome company culture. And we'll just hand these to people. Hey, I think you're awesome. If you or anyone else might be interested in this, give us a call. And just always have your eyes open to open for great talent. You're a headhunter, and our role as CEO is to find great talent. And so we always got to be looking for it.
I think another great place to look too is within your own people. Our referral program at Jill's office is very successful, especially if you get people who just love working for you. They are more than happy to tell others. And if you incentivize that, it works really great for us. So that's something we focus on year round. And like Brandon and JC said, headhunting is awesome because I think people love to be approached and complimented. And when you can provide that to someone, it shows that you're interested in them. You see something in them. So now they have a curiosity about who you are. And I love the idea of having kind of a waiting list for potential new hires. Like Brandon said, they're your internal clients. And I love to kind of relate external and internal. The processes are almost the same. There's a little bit of difference there, but like marketing to them, same as marketing to your external clients. And creating a waiting list, I mean, that creates more curiosity and demand. And now you're like, what is this company that I can't get into? Now I have to work there.
Yeah. Those internal referrals are big for us too. And then just like Brandon said, you're telling me there's a chance. The marketing, developing such a strong culture that you're attracting top talent, that, talent, you're known for your culture, and that it's instead of, just like all things with customers and everything, instead of going out and chasing, that you've built something so strong that it's attracting top people.
Love that. We have a question here from Maureen. Our hiring is not typical. We're a real estate brokerage. So while we're looking for accomplished agents, the agents are interviewing our offices just as much as we are them. So we struggle getting agents on board because of the dues fees that come with working in our office. They don't want to pay for the services we provide. How would you combat that kind of objection?
I think,
have any ideas on that?
I think sometimes it's a timing issue of how and when you bring it up. You know, in an interview process, it used to be back in the day that, you know, well, we're the bosses and, you know, we're bestowing upon you this job. Like things are a lot more competitive. People are looking for impact. They're looking for culture fit. They're looking for involvement in their community. Yeah. And so what we do actually is we sell them on the opportunity first before we even begin interviewing them. And we get them so pumped up and so excited. And sometimes if, you know, you bring them in and you feel like, you know, you're coming out of the gate, asking them all these questions, their criticality meter starts going way up. And they're kind of like, whoa, hold on a second. I don't even know if I want to work here. So that's what we typically find is good pressure. And then the other thing too is if you have a really big top of funnel, sometimes people overlook the fact that, you know, their problems of not getting enough people is because there's something wrong with their internal process, when maybe your top of funnel is not big enough. So this kind of goes back to that marketing problem to solve. You know, if you're only talking to a handful of agents, you might feel more pressure to want to close one of these people and sell one of these people. If you're talking to, you know, hundreds of them and you have good marketing systems to get them interested and approached, your likelihood of success dramatically increases for finding a really great person. So those are the two areas where I would maybe, you know, look at it a little bit more closely and see what that process looks like. And when you have a bunch of people and you're like selling them on the opportunity and how great your culture is, go hire a videographer to record amazing videos. You know, go get interviews of your current agents and have them speak to the camera, talk about why this agency is different and why our brokerage is different and all the things. And, you know, have them at home with their families in the evenings because they're able to actually enjoy their family time. Like get the pain points of why an agent does like working for you and why they are willing to pay those fees. And then put that in your marketing. Then people that watch that's important to them, you know, that becomes a secondary irrelevant thing. So, you know, it's a culture match that you have to kind of focus on.
I love that. You know, I love how much you're talking about how much it is marketing. You know, our friend Josh Latimer says everything is marketing. And that's absolutely true when it comes to hiring. You have to look at it, you know, as we talked before, is the same as trying to market to customers, is really putting that much thought into it. And so along with that, do you guys have any tips as far as your marketing when it comes to the job description? What should be included in there, and how do you make sure you find that right fit, and how do you attract the right people to actually apply?
I have a little bit on that. I'm putting this in the comments now because it kind of goes also back to the last question, but I like to use this acronym with my team and for myself, and I just say WIFM. And basically it just means what's in it for me. So every time I have an interaction with an employee, especially if it's, you know, some kind of conflict resolution, or if we're hiring, or even with clients, when you're talking to someone, they want to know what's in it for them. And when you come to a job posting or an interview, like, what are you going to give to me? It doesn't have the best effect. So what Maureen's saying, I think what is helpful is approaching it like to explain what they're going to gain from joining your company first. And like Brandon touched on, the timing of it also, because you want them to be so sold on joining your company outside of what the dues and the fees are, right? But when job postings come into play, we've really focused on what our ideal target employee would gain from working with us, based off of what our current employees like to get. Like, what is it in culture? What are people really driven to gain from working at Jill's office? So we focus on that in our job postings, and we always implement core values, because I feel like that's something easily created and then forgotten in an organization and implementing it. So we actually put core values in our job posting near the top, and then we talk about it a lot in our interviews. And that really helps to steer away people that are not your ideal employee, and really attract the type of people that you want.
I like that. I'm gonna jump in real quick, Brandon. You know, I like to describe myself as a funpreneur. I want to have fun. I want my team to have fun, and I want people to see that when they're reading the job ad. You know, 10 years ago, job ads were must have this, must do this, must. and it's just boring. Everything's changed. So we have to, conform and like transform that to attract the right people. So, like she was talking about having the core values in there. We changed the title to a Christmas Light Ninja. Like, what's a Christmas Light Ninja? I want to know what that is. So they click on that, and we talk about all the experience they can have, the fun they can have, all the time off, all the benefits, all the good stuff. And then at the bottom, I'm like, all right, now for the boring stuff. And then we'll talk about some of the requirements that we're looking for, but at least get an attractive title for them to want to click onto it, and then hopefully get them into that platform, that hiring funnel to see what they are. But if you just got some same boring title as everybody else, then nah, that's not going to be for me. So for me, it's all about excitement and fun for them to want to read that and then start filling out that resume or the application.
I love that, JC. Yeah, I love funpreneur. That's really good. I might have to steal that one. That's a good one.
I want to challenge what JC said just a little bit, because I think it's, for myself, helpful to test, because I have tried testing for my house cleaning company, posting more fun titles and making them more fun, and then testing something very clear like just house cleaner. And in my market, in our area and what we're looking for, I've had a lot more interaction with just the house cleaner. And I think some people, just depending on where you are, I think it's important to test it basically to see what you get the most out of it. But if you're a super funpreneur, I think you want the same type of people on board, right? So you want to make sure you're attracting those type of people that can take your sense of humor maybe, and also not be thrown off by having so much fun, because there are different personalities that can still do a great job, but maybe the fun feels a little weird for them. But I definitely love people that can more have fun doing their job than seriousness, I guess. But I have experienced more applicants with a more basic title.
I think that's really good. And that's one thing that we do with HireBus. So when we manage our people's hiring funnels for them, we'll take all their hiring off their plate. We write all their job descriptions, their job ads. We post all of them, and we always post 3. And we split test them, and we see how much traffic, which one goes the best. And then once a week, we optimize them until we get the one winner. And it's very interesting how sometimes ads that we think will hit just because I like them don't hit. And it's kind of humbling. So it's kind of like letting the data drive those decisions. And one of the things that we like to focus on in our job ads is use the word you a lot. So at the beginning, our job ads oftentimes for Wise Codings at the very beginning say who you are. And then, you're always working to level up in life, both personally and professionally. You love running towards problems and enjoy being recognized as a high performer. You thrive in a fast-paced environment. You love serving others and helping them succeed. You want to work with like-minded team members. I guess all these you things. So the people that read it and they're like, that's not me. Great. They don't read any further. But the people that do read it and they're like, yeah, that's me. Then the next bullets and sections is who we are. And it starts off with, we're who you've been looking for. And then it says, we, are, top rated floor coating company, the fastest growing floor coatings company as recognized by Entrepreneur Magazine in the United States. And, just like goes through all these things, about what's in it for them. And we find that those ads, oftentimes the way that I know that my job ads are hitting is people comment on them. Yeah, I've read a whole bunch, but yours spoke to me. Like, that's how you know that your job ads are actually hitting right, when people comment like, this is why I applied. And so putting your core values in there, like Nicole said, is absolutely gold. Because, you want them to read and see themselves and that person be aligned with who you are too.
Love that. Super great tips there. In a way it's kind of like dating, right? You're like, but just looking for, lots of different employees. You want to make sure it's the right match with your culture.
It's totally like dating, because everybody's trying to be their best self, and they're a lot of times putting on a mask. Like, this is who I really am. Right. 10 years into marriage, then you know.
And it's got to go both ways. Like, it's as important for them to find the right match as it is for you to find the right match. And so really making sure your languaging in there is attracting and the right people by really pulling them in. I love that part of, who you are and then who we are. I can see how that would really grab people. Okay, so you've got the job posting up. Hopefully you get some good candidates. Let's talk about the interview itself. Do you guys have any tips on good screening questions, any red flags that you want to make sure you avoid, or any questions to kind of screen red flags? What do you guys have there?
Oh man. Part of me wants to say something, but I'm afraid that my team might get angry, but I think I might say it anyways. We actually have been, we've been using AI to write all of our interview questions. I'm not going to lie. So one thing that's really cool that we're building out in HireBus is it takes the entire company profile, the role profile, all of their behavioral scores, what the benchmark is for that given position, and then custom generates all the interview questions from a absolute HR best practices standpoint, and like list them all out for you. And they're all highly, highly targeted and specific to be able to elicit whether or not someone's coachable in that role specifically, and where like some of the red flags are. And we've been doing this manually and perfecting the process so well. But AI's it's unbelievable game changer. If you're not leveraging AI in your hiring process, your competitors are going to eat your lunch. I mean, it's such a big game changing thing to start implementing more. And there's so much context in there that you can build out around best HR practices, because I don't know about all of you guys. I didn't grow up knowing anything about HR. I didn't know what HR stood for.
Home run.
Home run. It's our home run department, right, guys? And I furthermore didn't understand how important it is to, what questions you can and you can't ask. And there's so much to that you have to be very, very careful of. And there's a few zinger, like fun questions that I like asking, that are critical thinking type questions. And I might throw in one every once in a while. But one of my favorite ones that I do like asking is, when I contact your last supervisor, what will they tell me is one of the number one things that you need to work on the most? And so I like the psychology play of it, because you say, when I contact your supervisor, so they already know you're going to ask. So then they want to be like, get out in front of it and say, and I've had some unbelievably honest things where people have said right after I said that it's very important to be timely. And then I asked them that question next, and they're like, that was late almost every single day. So you get some really good, brutal honesty answers out of that one sometimes.
We like to ask people questions. We like to explain people what our core values are in case they didn't read the application, which a lot of times they don't read the whole job posting. So we like to reiterate our core values, which is goals, growth, and gratitude here at Jill's office. So we ask them which one speaks to them the most and why. And that seems to open up a lot of doors as to who they are. But my recruiter and I, we practice a lot of deep diving questions to discover more. So every time someone does talk about something, we ask them to explain further and to dive deeper. And that helps us a lot into getting a glimpse of like unguarded answers, because people prep for interviews. They have their same answers for everything. Like, tell us a little bit about yourself. Why do you think you're good for this position? And so disarming questions is something we try to find, like, explain to me how you would plan your dream vacation is one we like to ask, because you get to see a person's thought process and they can't really figure out like, what's a wrong answer? What's a right answer? Because that's what they're trying to think while they're in this interview. So that's helped us a lot, just thinking of things to kind of disarm them so they don't feel guarded and that they could just talk freely.
Mm-hmm. I like that a lot, Nicole.
Yeah, that is good.
I like to with let's ask this one off. I've heard other people adding in off the wall interview question, like, tell me what your dream ice cream sundae, to gauge a person's reactive response. Do you find any benefits in having a question like this, or is it better to stick to the standard stuff?
Yeah, I love that. Nicole kind of alluded to that, didn't she? Those ones just kind of. I like the ones too. I like how, Nicole, you mentioned hearing how their thought process is, because you can learn a lot from a question like that based on how detailed they are, if they're methodical in nature, or if they're just totally blank inside card, where there's just not much going on upstairs from a substance or, goals, dreams. They never thought about anything like that. So those off the wall questions, to me, I think some of them are just kind of fun to ask.
Yeah.
I don't know if we're really that great of a psychologist to be able to really decipher the inner hidden meanings behind some of those off the wall questions, but I like the disarming component of it.
Yeah. One of the questions we do ask here, which is interesting, is if you could start any business, what would it be? We ask it frequently, actually. And I think with our demographic, we have a lot of younger people, early 20s, and the amount of people just starting up side hustles is just, I feel like maybe 25% of our employees have some kind of side hustle, and they always have an answer of something they're already doing or something they want to start. Like, I want to do hair, and showing interest in some of those things, because you are being interviewed as well. I try to remember that all the time. So we do like to ask questions like that. There's no right or wrong answer. But we also we encourage them to ask us a lot of questions. I think if an interviewee has no questions, they're probably not a good fit, because we don't tell them everything in our job posting. So we want someone who's interested in, how can I grow here? One of the questions they like to ask is why, like if it was me, they would ask, why do you still work here? What do you love the most about your job? And I love that question.
Yeah.
Another one that I love.
A lot from go ahead, Michelle.
No, go for it.
That you can tell a lot in the questions that they ask. And then my favorite questions are the ones that, I mean, depending on the position, that you are, like you said, with that dream vacation, getting their thought process, if they can solve problems, if they're solutions focused or just can cross tasks off. Like how much they can talk about driving results and like trying to gauge that passion for a past experience in the results that they created, not just the job that they finished.
Go ahead, Brandon.
Oh, I was just saying, I love that. I think that's great.
So one of the ones I love asking is, tell me about a time when your integrity was tested. And I feel like that gives me several layers of information just about what is integrity to them. How did they respond to it? And anyway, it's another good one that I really like asking. That kind of throws people off. So lots of good questions there. Okay, let's talk about getting them to show up to the actual interviews. Hopefully they show up to the first one, but one of our viewers was asking, I often get ghosted on the second interview. Do you guys have any tips on how to get them to keep coming back?
Well, let's see. The second in-person interview gets ghosted. I'd say there's probably a few different things at play. I think one, speed of response, because you have to understand something from the journey of them trying to secure a job. They're applying to jobs. They don't know which one's going to hit. So they need to hedge their bets and have several different ones. And I find that if I wait like a week and try to reach out to people, they're either already accepting offers or they're already kind of moving on to other things. They've already checked out and they're, talking and having other interviews. So we try to make the decision process very fast and quick and clear. So the end of the first interview, I tell them, okay, great. This is the next step that's happening. This is when I'll get back to you. This is when this is going to be. Then we'll contact you for a follow-up. And please be a good employer and tell people when you're no longer considering them. Don't just, ghosting works two ways. And I think that we get frustrated at not getting communicated. Can we do better on that in general? Of when we know someone's not going to move forward, like send them that rejection letter if we're no longer considering them for the position. I think in general, that improve just communication in general could be improved on that front. And then we have automated text reminders that happen every single stage. Anytime we drag something in HireBus, a bunch of automated text messages and email reminders get sent to the candidate. And then we have texting communication is way better than email communication, by the way, like way, way, way better. So try to stick to text communication.
Yeah, I think speed is number one for us here at Jill's office, because it depends on the position you're hiring for. If you were looking for a director type position versus, a call service agent, most of our hires don't expect a second interview. That's something that I would probably reserve for a higher, more skilled position. And they are definitely looking for a job quickly most of the time. And so the speed there is key. As soon as you find good applicants, screen them, give them a call. Text is the best option for us. Getting them in for an interview as quick as possible, and then letting them know where they stand. They always want to know what you're thinking, if you're going to hire them or not. That's important. But that's helped a ton. But with candidates, it's getting them to show up. What's worked for us, we still get a lot of people who don't show. It's kind of the nature of just what's happening right now. Since COVID is when it started to get really bad. So we started doing a couple different things. We've tried some group interviews to try to get multiple people, because if we set up interviews all day and only half show, such a waste of time prepping for every single one of those interviews. So we have tried the group method. Hasn't worked the best for us, but it has worked at some times. And so we'll constantly try different things. But we send out reminders to all of our interviews the day before, asking them to confirm their interview. And I want to say 90% of those actually show up if they reply. If they never reply, we're kind of expecting that they don't show up, but we're still here just in case they do. But that's helped the most, is just confirming those appointments, and also letting them know that we're excited to meet them has kind of stuck. But like Brandon said, they are searching. They are hopping around trying to see where they can get maybe the most money or what job sounds the best. And so I think they kind of weed themselves out in that process as well. So not necessarily a bad thing, but it is frustrating and sometimes a huge waste of time.
Love that. You know, we've been talking. Oh, go ahead, Angela. Go. Sorry.
We always have a thought at the same time.
Raise your hand.
I'm thinking it like just like your sales funnel, thinking of interviewing just like that. That you're trying to walk people through that, and that change in mentality for us led to, I would say, second interview, I guess, is based on that too. But even in the first interview, of how much are you layering people, building the excitement, just like you would be doing with a lead that came in for a customer that's trying to get them through to the sale, doing the same way as prospects. That anyone that was first interested, that you're just layering all of those things in different pieces, building the excitement to them. And then, you know, depending on how many people you have coming through the funnel, we added things like we do group interviews. They also submit a short video first. So there's different things to get to the first interview to really gauge their level of interest and energy and commitment, like just little things that are buy-ins for them as well.
Awesome. I want to jump to the retaining part. And we, you know, our time is running fast. You guys have so much good stuff. I do want to touch on Richard's question, if anyone has a kind of a quick answer to that. So he's asking what strategies you have for finding highly skilled employees, such as tree climbers, or ones that are very valuable and difficult to find in our market. Does anyone want to tackle that one?
Just thinking about that, jobs, traits or skills, like linemen. They're always climbing power poles. Maybe if you got a rock climbing gym somewhere around there. Firefighters, you know, not afraid of heights. Roofers. So just think of people like that aren't afraid to be doing what you're doing because they're comfortable with heights and things like that. And I would start there. Those are like just 4 quick off the cusp places I would be thinking. But linemen would probably be a great one because they're always climbing poles anyway. So
yeah, I'll add to that. When you're trying to find someone that has a skill set that you need, maybe even licensed, you know, or something along those lines, Facebook can be a good channel for that because it's interruption marketing and you can target people. You can target specific types of ones. So, you know, you're looking for the people that aren't necessarily looking on Indeed or they're actively searching for a job. They're already gainfully employed, but they're just kind of like comfortable. If a better offer came along, they probably would switch over. So interruption marketing like Facebook is good for that because they're scrolling through their feeds. They see an ad that you have of a skilled tree climber that's climbing up, and it's like wanted, skilled, competitive pay. And you're talking about all the reasons why they may want to consider. They're more likely to actually reach out, and they're not actively going on job boards. And then next, ask yourself, where are these people hanging out? What do they do? Is there trade shops where they go buy supplies? Can you go to those people? I oftentimes find that people behind the desk of some of those supply shops can be really good allies for finding good skilled employees. Just basically saying like, hey, if you find someone, I'll give you $1,000 finder fee. And then they start asking people that come in, you know, if they're complaining about their job or complaining about this, be like, hey, you know, I know a guy that's hiring. If you'd be interested, yeah, you know, go ahead and connect me. So there's lots of different ways to get in front of them. You just have to think about where are they hanging out and where are they looking.
Yeah, I agree. I think that networking is one of your best ways to go in referrals. That's how we got our last programmer. And I was just on one of my neighborhood groups this morning looking for an arborist. And I'm like, if I was looking for a skilled tree person, maybe not a climber, I mean, I would have found them on one of the networking groups and reached out to them also. And I think that's where you can find some of those different skill levels as well. But yeah, our last programmer was a referral, and that was awesome. So
Love it. One recurring theme we've heard already throughout this is really that you need to look at employees just as you would as customers, and because they're your internal customers, and to market to them, to attract them just as with as much detail and attention and thought out on this as you would for your actual customers. So let's now jump to retaining, because getting the right person in is obviously super important, but keeping them there, that's where the real gold lies. And job hopping is becoming more and more of a buzzword, especially with the millennials and Gen Z. I mean, it's a different world. Do we have that survey we could pop up on the screen to my back team? When you look at what it used to be with older generations, really, they would usually get in a job and stay there for most of their career, at least 5-10 plus years on average, whereas now we're looking at 2 years on average for someone to actually stay in a job. So with that, wondering what kinds of tips you guys have as far as keeping and retaining employees. What do you guys think about that?
Culture is just so important in today's society, and you're going to have it. It's going to be good or bad. So why not have a great culture where they feel part of a team? I like to tell people during the interview process, you want people to have a career here, not a job. Career is long-term. Jobs are kind of temporary. So all those little things, but also active listening to the things that they need and want in life, because we want them to grow personally and professionally. We want to see them grow outside of work too, so that they feel not only part of your team, but like their family is a part of it too, and that we care about them, so that they have a safe space at work and at home. So it's really just important to dive deep into that culture and understand their needs and wants, but also understand that you have a mission to accomplish at your job. So that needs to be part of that as well too.
Love that. I'll throw in one thing that people I oftentimes see gets overlooked. Have a clean shop, have clean trucks, have organized trucks. If they're driving around some hoopty truck with, the transmission rattles and it stinks inside and everything looks like it was thrown into the back of the truck from 3 feet back. And, they come into the shop and there's flickering lights. Like, do not underestimate how a good work environment makes a difference in retention and people being proud of what they do. You have newer leased vehicles that are wrapped and they're hyper organized in the back. It makes their job easier. They get less frustrated. They come into the shop and you got flat screen TVs and there's something where they come in and it lifts their mood instead of depresses them every time they show up. And it's marketing. And it also is a reflection of what the standard is inside of your company, what you expect. If you as the owner don't have that high level, you expect your employees to be less than that by probably 20, 30%. So having that real high standard is such a huge difference. And I've gone out and done one-on-ones with people at their businesses that have had hiring employee problems. And I go in there, I'm like, man, I would be depressed to work here. Like, this is awful. Some hole in the wall rinky-dink thing. And, don't despise small beginnings, but a fresh coat of paint goes a long way. And replacing light bulbs goes a long way, even to just like small things like that.
Yeah, it makes it look like you care about their environment. I think that's the underlying feel, is that the owner cares about me and about the business. For us, I feel like, when we had our collective meeting, we went over drivers, and that has helped us a lot to see the different drivers that our employees have. Some of them are driven by money, some are driven by things like accountability, and they're all different. And as you grow, finding ways to touch on all those drivers, I think, is important. But for myself, I think people want to feel like they belong. They want to feel like they have a place. When you feel out of place, you're uncomfortable, and then you hate your job. You don't want to be there anymore. You don't feel like you belong. So that's the number one thing for me, is I want people to feel like they belong here and that they are welcome. And then that they have vision. When I think about when I started at Jill's office and when Michelle started, we started around the same time. We were a super tiny office, nothing fancy by any means. And as soon as I understood what Jill's office was, I completely saw the vision, and I was sold during my interview. And it was so clear to me that what it was going to be over time, that I just didn't see myself leaving, because I wanted to be a part of the ride. And so I think sharing vision with employees is important. If they don't know where you're headed and what your goals are, or even if they're part of the process in creating some of those goals, they feel so much ownership over their roles. And then you have someone there for life because they want to see it through.
Love that.
Love that too. Have you, let's see, team, do you have that graphic now to pop up? This was a survey done to new graduates a couple of years ago by Ripple Match. And they asked them, how long you expect to stay at, your company. And this is their results. Have you guys,
This is before
have you
they
guys
even
found
graduated college.
Exactly. This is right out of high school. And they're already not planning staying very long. So just curious if you guys have found any kinds of different ways you need to do your culture as far as generations go, or is it, just pretty much standard that this works for everyone?
Yeah, I will say that new generation, let's be real. Our businesses are not what the kids in grade school wrote down as their dream job. It just didn't happen. They didn't write down pressure washing business or, Christmas light installer. Well, maybe JC did. I know JC's got his dream job, and that's like very, very special to him. But, an owner, maybe, it's like, so it's one of those things where we need to recognize that people are not going to stay very long while they're with us. We need to not be sad when they leave. And we need to have really incredible training systems so that people can come on and onboard quickly and get up to speed very fast. So don't buck against human nature and generational, biases. Embrace it. Say, hey, while this person's with me in my company, I want to teach them how to build a family budget and how to improve their credit score. And I want to help them learn how to save up for a house. And I want to give them life skills that will take them far in life. And when you focus on that side of it, two amazing things happen. One, they stay longer because they're like, wow, the boss actually cares. So you do still accomplish that. But two, they also refer way more people to you because they're like, I've never had a company that treated me like this and worked with me like this. And then when they go get their dream job, you can celebrate it. And, when they quit, you can say, man, I'm so proud of you for going and, pursuing your dream. And it's a mindset shift that if you don't adopt, you're going to always be blaming the millennials and blaming the generations, and when you point at someone else, where they say you point at someone, you got three fingers pointing back at you. Mm-hmm. We got to be the people that solve that and address it.
I think one of the things I always try to keep in mind for myself too is humility and being humble. And instead of trying to find the best employees, I always try to figure out first how to be the best, be a better employer, basically, first before anything else. I feel like if I can't improve and be the best employer that I can, I'm not going to have anybody that wants to stay. So I'm always looking inwards first at how I can help the organization be a better employer before I start pointing fingers, like Brandon said.
And everybody's culture is going to be different. I mean, what you guys do at Jill's and what somebody's doing at a mechanic shop, it's completely different culture. So you got to build a culture for your company, but also allow your team to have buy-in for that culture. It doesn't mean we're going to do everything they want, but allow them to feel part of that so they feel, needed and wanted through this whole process. And maybe you can adapt some things to the culture to make it, they feel like, hey, I got buy-in now. I told them something that I liked, and now we adapt it into our culture.
Yeah, absolutely love it. And man, our hour went so fast. Maybe we'll have to do a follow-up at some point, because I'd love to dive at some point more into just the HR systems and the different procedures and handbooks and everything to have in place to protect ourselves. Does anyone have just a crucial piece of that they want to share before we close out here?
Oh boy. You already kind of nailed some of those there. Employee handbooks, books, performance reviews, safety meetings. One thing that really gets overlooked in like home services, especially, you can get fined up to $100,000 for willful negligence and not having a safety program in place. We have, there's lots of amazing resources out there, but just, once a week safety meeting, and then have a progressive discipline system where you have something documented where it takes the discrimination potential out of it, and you're focused more on like, hey, no, this is what we do for everyone. You aren't being singled out This is the process that we do for everybody. If you show up late, you get a verbal warning. If you show up again, it's a written warning. If you show up late again, it's a termination. And, being very, very clear with it and following the process with everybody. So,
Yeah.
hey, that's a really good one for culture too, by the way, on retention. If you don't get rid of old cancer in your company, you can have a major retention problem too, because people hate working with cancers. Yeah.
Yeah. I would say, to add to Brandon's, to have a really solid orientation and training process down, a solid one. I think we overlook the orientation process, especially when we're smaller. If you're a small business and you're just starting, it's the perfect time to just start creating something, to go over those policies in the handbook that you created for your business, cover that. It's a get to know you kind of day, expectations, get them excited to be with your company, and have a good amount of time set aside so you're not rushing through it, because it is like your first impression to this new employee. And then having a really solid training program so that the employee knows what to expect when it's over. What are the guidelines and how are you measuring my performance? And then give that feedback, because you don't want them sitting around wondering how they're doing. You want them to know exactly how they're doing and how they can reach their full potential.
And I think it was Brandon who mentioned it earlier, just knowing those interview questions is so important. Like what words and questions you can and can't ask, and that'll get you in a lot of trouble fast.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, a huge thank you to all of you for joining here today and sharing some of your expertise. If you guys could just take a minute, if our viewers, and thank you to our viewers too for joining us here and for all your questions. How can people get connected with you or learn more about your business? I mean, we're sharing here the pain points, but everyone here provides a solution where you don't even have to worry about hiring as heavily. So how can they learn more about your company and stay connected with you?
Well, if you want to find out what's the one question that we ask applicants that tells us a score on 1 to 10 of how good of a fit they'll be in our company, go take it for free. Go to hirebus.com/free, and you can take the HireBus assessment for yourself, and you can see the benchmarks. You can see the process. It's a fun assessment that's very quick, and it's very, very powerful. And we do completely fully managed hiring to where you'll never have to write or post a job ad again. And we'll manage it all for you. And plans start as little as $149 a month. So it's really, really inexpensive.
Well, I'll go for Jill's office. I actually use Jill's office for my cleaning company too, after hours and on weekends, because I want my calls answered 24/7. And so you can find us at jillsoffice.com, and you can sign up to get a free demo and learn more about our services. And you'll be working closely with Michelle's team. So.
And you can reach out to us. There you go. I love it. You guys putting up all the links to reach out and find us. And we can find you a rockstar virtual assistant if a virtual team member is a solution for you as an admin or something that doesn't need to be in person.
And I actually use all three services. I use Jill's office, I use HireBus, and I use UG's in my business. And all three are great tools. And I'm just, like Brandon said, go take that free HireBus assessment.
Yes.
It is so fun and it's so eye-opening. Like you'll be like, oh my God. And then you're gonna want to have everybody in your team take it. So I highly encourage you to go ahead and take that free. It's quick, it's painless.
You can tell we're having a lot of fun with HireBus right now.
So much good data from those.
It is fascinating. And it's fascinating to even look at the people you already hired and see where they assess it. Oh, wow, I got that one right. But okay. And I wanted to mention too, we are all members of the collective, which the collective is basically an organization to help level up the home service industry through providing educational resources like this, just to help you improve in your business, and also providing discounts and different events. We just want to serve and help you lift you up. So feel free to check out collectivestrong.com to learn more and join us, join our community. We also put together a survey just to get your feedback on what other topics you'd like to have webinars like this, and what topics are your pain points and what you need help with. And we can pull other experts in to help with those topics. So if you wouldn't mind taking a minute and filling out that survey, we'd absolutely love your feedback. But once again, thank you everyone for joining, and thank you to our panel of experts. We sure appreciate you, and everyone go hire and retain.
Awesome.
Thanks,
Bye, everybody.
Take care.